What up, random rockers? So, Baroness, Golden Gray. It's been a week. I didn't exactly get enough time to sit with it, but I can already tell you I like it, but purple's better. I don't have the purple album on me, but, you know, if you've checked back a long time ago when I finally first posted it on a video on YouTube, that was my best of set for those who hopefully caught up with my Facebook stuff, which hopefully is still around on Facebook. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Regardless, this is technically their fifth studio album, a double album, I believe. Or at least it was kind of a double album. But it seems to just go off of 17 tracks, but... and most of them, heck, in fact, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are interludes. It's technically 11 actual tracks. And some of the interludes, I guess, don't go much anywhere, and plus a lot of people have been bitching about the mixing. In places, yeah, in places. Even when it comes to the final track, it gets a little much. And Dave Freeman, who did the last record, did this one. I barely noticed that there was an issue in the mix. I knew something was different. But weirdly enough, it's crazy outside right now. And windy. But anyway, it's been fun. The first track is at least a good start. Front Toward Enemy. Yes. Classic, what we like about Baroness. That works. The only other track outside of essentially the lead single Borderlines later down the track, which they were smart enough to put later in the track listing. It's unfortunate it's not what closes this album off. I sort of understand, but really not so much. And they do have things where they do stuff. There's always an essence where it's just kind of quiet and then they fade in. It's kind of a signature move production-wise when it comes to Baroness anyway. It seems, from what I've gathered. I most of the time use the time to catch up on some things in Baroness I didn't get a chance to check out. Also, I forgot my hat, but you know what? And my other hat, so you'll have to deal without it for now. And Front Toward Enemy is great. Classic Baroness sound. And then I'm Already Gone is where things start to be, where that mix problem is. You could tell, I started to notice something once I got to Yellow and Green, because I'm already going to tell you, they have yet to surpass the level of masterclass that is Red Album and Blue Record. That is still the top tier in terms of the stoner sludge, the progressive stoner sludge sound outside of what Mastodon said. Or at least they took what Mastodon and then went and found a way to harness the power of what Mastodon did in 4 records and did them in 2. And I commend them for it. I will. How have they been able to capture what they did since then? No, and they try to move forward from it. A transition from that was, of course, Yellow and Green. Didn't exactly go over as well for some people. Solid, but I guess. But it does get boring in place. It does lose my interest in places. And the production is definitely not the issue with that record as opposed to this one. It seems like whatever technical double album thing they do, although that one's more legitimate double album as opposed to what we're dealing with here in Golden Gray. But Purple, my first exposure, my cherry pop to Baroness, was probably one of the better choices, for sure. If you don't get a chance to hear Red Album and Blue Record, sorry for the blah blah blah, but yes, then check Purple out, for sure. I would highly recommend that one. Yes, there's some slight issues in the mix, and maybe that's a way to adjust to what you get here, which I feel like with this one, they're trying to kind of mishmash both of the past couple outings here into this album. And if the production that what did I say Marty? I mean Dave Friedman would have done. I don't know why I almost said Marty Friedman. Let's not get that confused, I'll tell you that. And good luck, Dave Mustaine, if you're even watching this. I doubt it. I don't even know if he's a Baroness fan. But I'm already going as where it starts to. But I like what we're getting, and it's more in the drums. Seasons which is the second single on this album, is when it really starts to get there. And it's pretty clear to me the band is going in a radio hit, is trying to be, to me, what I got out of this. From just merely to listen straight, is that this band is trying to replace Deftones in the term of being the new Radiohead of metal. Or at least in the sense of if Mastodon chose to go in that direction. And that's kind of where they were going, and that sort of seemed to be the case in tradition. The difference is between that and Deftones. Deftones, you could tell that they went more for the bends and OK Computer type stuff, maybe some Kid A. But here, we're talking post and Kid A Amnesiac, or basically Hail to the Thief Onward Radiohead. And this album definitely showcases it in a way where the gold that you're digging for, and especially if you're going that route, the In Rainbows and your A Moon-Shaped Pool, definitely something there. And that's definitely, you can tell there's a highlight there, but it just doesn't come across nearly as well. In fact, to the extent of saying at worst, some ideas that kind of came out of Keen of Limbs. Maybe at best Hail to the Thief? I know it's a stretch, guys. I'm stretching, and it's a bit of a stretch to go that far. Or at least some ideas that they had sonically come across in that vein. I liked Purple more, and I can tell there at least felt more like a Baroness. You could tell that whatever they were trying to do on Yellow and Green comes across better here, and in a way that even people who know the level of Masterclass, Red Album, and Blue Record had could adjust to easier. Like basically you could just skip Yellow and Green and go straight to Purple, and it would still work out just fine, you know, if you wanted to. Though there are some like pretty solid, interesting tracks, including some singles off of that record that's somewhat worth it, but I still think that's the thing here. When it comes to Baroness, right now, before I further deep dive into the track listing, as best as I can, I am having a hard time. I know Purple is the middle ground. Purple is the perfect middle ground when it comes to Baroness's discography. I just don't know I just haven't decided on whether or not Red Album or Blue Record is the better of the two Masterclass albums. And at this point, I'm still trying to figure out if whether or not Golden Gray is better than Yellow and Green. Yeah, because of the fact that this mix can at times screw this up. And I'm only listening to this having to stream through YouTube because I'm cheap. Through Premium, as I'm cheap that way. And eventually, I plan on getting this album regardless and just collecting the band regardless of what I say here. So to some extent, Baroness, if, you know, I think Dave is your first. Yeah, Dave's, I think Dave's from that. I'm blanking. Sorry. I'm still getting used to Baroness themselves and all that, but I do know that the new guitarist, Chick Gina, who's apparently worked with Cirque du Soleil and some other stuff, or at least I'm just going off a reference from what was referenced in the Headbangers review. But here, she's good, and I love her vocals, and it definitely is her background vocals definitely blend well with Dave's. I'm hoping I'm saying that right, and it works really well. It works really well. And yes, Dave's vocals do have some similarities to. So you know, from who I'm thinking of from Mastodon, that's for some reason escaping my brain because I don't have a Mastodon album on hand to help me. While I'm just using this freaking Galaxy S4 and whatever I wrote down that I could before I started this. So forgive me. Overall, before I get to that, of course, and then, of course, there are some highlights here. I mean, Seasons is fine, but you could tell they were going into some shoegazy, post-rock, dream pop, more of like an indie metal kind of a feel, but in a lo-fi production in places, and sometimes, and maybe garage rock-ish, and trying to and it does not necessarily translate as well with certain things. Pale Sun is one, even though the way they end it at least seems like a good to make you want to come back for more, or at least give you this kind of feeling like you want to come back for more. But if it wasn't for so much weird, chaotic shit happening, I feel as though this album forgot the loudness wars are over, and they need to fix that situation. And I am going as far as to say, if this album's going to get remastered, I'm going to reference the last intro not album. That's name is escaping me, but I do know, and it's even more ironic, kind of, because some people somehow complained about production and mixing of being too clean and pristine when it comes to Devin Townsend's Empath record. And yes, he, along with help as usual lately from Adam Nolly Get Good, who had been of Periphery, who also wound up producing and I believe mixing Architect's latest Holy Hell, has essentially done production mixing for that album. And that is a band that has been comparable to Baroness and stuff, and I feel like maybe if they relied on them to maybe mix and master a little bit and fix David Fryman's mistake, or that he might have made in places, I think this album would be even more enjoyable. Like basically pulling off what Rush did with the one album that's name escapes me, that most people complain about its original release, and most people just refer to the remastered edition and listen to that instead. That came out in like 2012. And that's kind of the situation that's going to have to happen here. In fact, even though a lot of people are speaking positive on this record, it all depends on how you listen to it too. But you can kind of tell the band themselves, at least, on that end of production is good, even though they're kind of on autopilot, but in a way that's at least the best that Baroness has been, sounding wise, because in the sense that they finally figured out, kept that core sound that worked, and were able to refine properly through Purple, while trying to expand and do certain experimental idea things that they had done with Yellow and Green that did not translate as well. And if they had a better mix, it probably would have translated even better. And more people would be probably going as far as to say 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10s, and so on, 100 out of 100 for Metacritic or something. List goes on. You know, that kind of thing is what would have happened. And yeah, tracks like I said with Crooked Mile Borderlines, I do love. Cold-Blooded Angel, like of the sort of softer tracks that are slow burn and build into a heavier stuff, that works. There are some tracks, I feel like Sevens and maybe Tourniquet have the moments where the guitars do kind of have clipping issues, but it's okay once you finally picks up and gets going, you know. I Do Anything's fine. Throw Me an Anchor's fine. Eminent Radiant Light, I think, is where you do hear a little bit. I think you hear a much cleaner sound from David Reese vocals. Now I'm starting to kind of remember half of his name, or like 2/3 of it. Forgive me, Baroness, if you hate my review. I understand, but anyway. or don't think it's the most professional. I'm not the most professional, even though I've done this for like maybe 3-4 years at this point, and I'm still figuring shit out. Especially once shit hits the fan and the way you normally review it, you can't. And yeah, Broken Halo, not to be confused with Chris Stapleton, by the way. I know some of you know about me and all that stuff. Yeah. And I've enjoyed most of the... Some of the interludes are fine, and there's just them noodling around and just kind of wanking, essentially. But with whatever idea sounds. Some new wavy, post-punky kind of things. They're definitely a lot more on the indie side, and I think that's what they're going for, and I think they somewhat succeed at it in places, so... Pilsun isn't a bad, like... But yeah, for, like, all-around tracks themselves that actually straight up have really good... are straight up classic Baroness, but more closer in ways that tracks like Morning Sun, minus certain clipping... Morning Star, minus clipping issues from that track of Purple, as well as another track off of Purple like Desperation Burns. More in that kind of vein. If you liked those tracks, like I said, like those tracks, Front Toward Enemy and Borderlines will feel kind of closer in into that lane, and will definitely be your nice breather from a lot of what the fuck was going on. Overall, guys, I like it. I like it, but, you know, I understand people who can't handle the mix and feel like it's the biggest hindrance to this thing. And I understand if people who want, for some reason, certain fans who feel for some reason they need to have a position out to find someone who can refine this and handle this, tweak this far better. I mean, I've thrown in my suggestion hat. It's probably not the best suggestion, but it doesn't hurt. Overall, I enjoy this. I enjoy this still. I would almost kind of say, I've yet to hear it in CD though, but I almost kind of want to say, maybe this is at least better than Yellow and Green. If not, since it's not better than Purple, at least that's got that going for it. So, if you liked kind of what you got of Purple, and at times you're going to enjoy it, and at times you're going to be like, why did I go back to that kind of thing? But that's it. What did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I will see you next video. Might be talking the movie for Toy Story 4. That's debatable. Things have kind of financially hit a stag. So yeah. Take care, y'all.